them. Okay, Hale hocam, shall we start because we are running out of time?
Okay, with pleasure.
Yes, please.
Okay. So hello everyone. It's nice to see so many people joining in. And welcome Nalan hocam. I'll just give a brief information about Nalan Kızılsan hocam. Actually, it's not brief because her CV is really loaded. I don't know where to start from. I'll just try to summarize it. Nalan Kızılsan graduated from 19 Mayıs University in İstanbul. She received her MA and PhD in the Department of English Linguistics from Hacettepe University in Ankara. Her doctoral dissertation is on Turkish children's literature from the linguistic perspective. Then she conducted her postdoctoral studies on foreign language teacher education at the Ohio State University in the U.S. Between 1996 and 1997. She was awarded as a professional woman in America by Who is Who in 2003. She was chosen for the International Board of Advisors in 2005. She has been working as Professor Doctor for the Department of Pre-Service English Language Teacher Education at the Faculty of Education, and she is also the Director of the School of Foreign Languages at Oklahoma University. She was a visiting scholar to teach Turkish as a foreign language at the University of Salento in Italy, and working for the Turkish Embassy to Rome also. During the academic years from 2009, 2010 and onwards, she gave some master degrees courses on tourism and cultures at University of Bari, and has been giving master degrees courses on cultures and tourism in a joint program. Anniversary of the 19th May 1919, she was awarded as the best female scholar in linguistics of the year and taken among the 100 prominent Turkish women from the foundation of the Republic of Turkey to present. Her articles are about children's literature, first and second language acquisition, language development of children, applied linguistics, teacher education and foreign language teaching. She speaks English, French, and Italian. As I said, this is only a summary of her CV. We have a real bilim kadını, really, also officially approved. I'm really honored to welcome her on this very important day. Nalan hocam, welcome.
Thank you all. I'm so happy to address from Samsun to everybody. And also, I think there must be my students as well and my professors as well. And you know that this day is very important for Turkish history. It is the commemoration of Atatürk and Youth and Sports Day. And I'm so happy, and it's a great honor for me to invite me on that special Turkish day. History.
Thank you.
It is the commemoration of Atatürk and Youth and Sports Day.
And
I'm so happy, and it's a great honor for me.
Topic is the subject is really important and very difficult to understand. So let me just tell our guests that we try to make it simpler and by adding questions. So I'll try to ask the questions, and as much as the time allows, we will continue the presentation. So Nalan hocam, what can you tell us about language acquisition? And is there a difference between language acquisition and language learning?
Of course, with pleasure. As is known, language acquisition is used for the process where a language is acquired as a result of natural and largely random exposure to language, whereas the term language learning refers to the exposure structured through language teaching. Children acquire language from the 18th month to puberty.
Okay.
And therefore, we language teachers, and language educators should be aware of what this dichotomy is. Thank you for asking this question first, because if we do not touch the heart of the learners, which can be a significant, let's say, representation of their world, I don't think that we can teach them. We cannot teach them how to learn. Thank you again.
Okay, and so we need to know the stages, we need to know the difference between language acquisition and second language acquisition, and also the stages in first language acquisition. What are the stages, Hocam?
Sure, since they can be accepted in second language learning, it's better for us to talk about the stages in first language acquisition as well. Babbling is one of the stages. Around the 6th month, the infant begins to babble. The sounds produced in this period seem to include a large variety of sounds, many of which do not occur in the language of the household. Children are able to distinguish between the sounds of their language and the sounds which are not part of their language during this babbling period. Also, they learn to maintain the right sounds and suppress the wrong ones.
So can we say babbling
Therefore,
is
this stage is also
prerequisite for language acquisition? Can we say that is it a prerequisite for language acquisition, babbling stage?
Of course, babbling does not seem to be prerequisite for language acquisition. Infants who are unable to produce any sounds at early stage due to physical motor problems begin to talk properly once the disability has been corrected.
So, are there any differences between the babbling sounds produced by hearing infants and produced by deaf infants?
This period is important for also teachers and parents to understand if they have hearing children or deaf children. Deaf infants produce babbling sounds similar to those of normal children. However, studies show that they are unsystematic, non-repetitive, and random. In parallel, the manual gestures produced by hearing babies language differ greatly from those produced by deaf infants exposed to sign language. The hearing babies move their fingers and clench their fists randomly with little or no repetition of the same gestures. The deaf infants use more than a dozen of different hand motions repetitively. After 1 year, children begin to use the same string of sounds repeatedly to mean the same thing. They have learned that sounds that are related to meanings, and they are producing their first sounds. Most children seem to go through the one word, one utterance stage. Those one word utterances are called polyphrastic utterances. As you see, I'm trying to underline the difference between sentences and utterances. At that stage, children are not producing sentences, but instead they are producing monosyllabic, utterances with consonant vowel form. Rowan Jacobson asserts that children first will acquire the sounds found in all languages of the world, no matter what they are exposed to, what language they are exposed to. And in later stages, they will acquire the more difficult ones. At the age of 2, children begin to produce two-word utterances. At first, they are holophrastic. Then, children begin to form actual two-word utterances. During the two-word utterances stage, there are no systematic or morphological markers. That is to say, no inflections for number, person, chance, and so on. Pronouns are rare, although many children use me to refer to themselves, and some children use other pronouns as well. Mommy sock, for example, is a common example, can be used to subject-object relation in the situation when the mother is putting the sock on the child, or a possessive relation when the child is pointing to mommy's sock. After 2 stage, a child starts stringing more than 2 words together. The utterances may be 2, 3, 4, or 5 words or larger. The first utterance of children, longer than 2 words, have a special characteristic. Function words such as to, the, can, is, and so on are missing. Only the words that carry the main message, the content words, occur. Therefore, this stage is called telegraphic stage since they remind of Western Union message.
Hocam, before we move on to the next question, please correct me if I misunderstood. So you have underlined the importance of language acquisition, and we are still in the first language acquisition. And there is a difference between normal developing children and also deaf children's developing in terms of speech and language. Deaf children can make sounds, they can produce sounds similar to, but there are some problems compared to the normal developed children. And there is also difference between sounds and utterance. And
gestures.
Gestures. And at the age of 2, they start producing telegraphic speech. But before that, they learn to use the content words, like the words that convey certain messages, but not function words like song, etc. Okay. So,
and also this happens in second language acquisition because most of the teachers know that their students are unable to use the function words. They delete them, but they just give importance to content. It happens the same. Therefore, I would like to talk about first language acquisition stages.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So now let's move on to our next question. Do children acquire language by imitation and positive reinforcement? So I'm also trying to get some lessons out of your valuable ideas and trying to harmonize my ideas coming from my experience. Thank you. So do they learn by imitation and positive reinforcement?
Since the middle of the 20th century, 3 main theoretical perspectives try to explain the development of children's language. Now, these are the behaviorist theories, innatist views, and interactional developmental perspectives. I would like to talk about these 3 perspectives first. The first one is the behaviorist. They think that language acquisition is a verbal behavior, and they view imitation and practice as the primary processes as in language development. If a particular response is reinforced, it becomes habitual or conditioned. Thus, children produce linguistic responses that are reinforced. There is a dialogue between a child and his mother. I would like to give this common dialogue. And the child says, "Nobody don't like me." Mother, "No." Say, "Nobody likes me." Child again, "Nobody don't like me." The dialogue repeated 8 times, and mother, "Now, listen carefully. Say, nobody likes me." Child, "Oh, nobody don't likes me." Again, you see, the child repeatedly commits mistakes, because now this is a kind of let's say, representation of his competence. As is seen in this dialogue, the child is not ready to construct the correct utterances in terms of his level of language development. Therefore, imitation or innatist, let's say, discuss the shortcomings of the behaviorist approach because of all these. Noam Chomsky claims that the child is born with an innate knowledge of a predisposition toward language, and this innate property, the LAD, or universal grammar, UG, is universal in all human beings. According to this view, language acquisition is universal, that every normal child acquires language because of this capacity.
So it's because of this capacity, even native tribes, even in very primitive tribes, there is language, and once they're exposed to language, the child can learn the language. Can we say that?
Yes.
Okay. So how is the efficiency and success of that learning determined by the environment the child is in?
Okay, after discussing these, as a universal features of language that can be found in all, let's say, types of languages in the world, language is universally acquired in the same manner that the deep structure of language at its deepest level may be common to all languages.
And is there a critical age?
It is visible. Yes. Yeah, it is controversial, but I would like to say something about it. If there is a spatial language learning capacity, as Noam Chomsky says, imports, and if this capacity declines at puberty, as Lenneberg says, this is obviously significant in helping to explain why second language learning, unlike second language learning, is often unsuccessful. Therefore, there seems to be a critical period for language acquisition, as Eric Lenneberg claims, but it is still controversial because we have so many, let's say, learners good at learning languages, and we are still trying to improve this or falsify this. Okay. Thank you. A third theoretical view of first language acquisition focuses on the role of the linguistic environment in interaction with the child's innate capacities in determining language development. They emphasize the importance of child-directed speech. They emphasize the importance of therefore child-directed speech, and we can use it in our classes in second language teaching environments, making the language simple for our learners. Language can be used in that sense to represent knowledge that children have acquired through physical interaction with the environment. Therefore, I think there are some parents willing to share some video programs in English with their children to make them bilingual. But I assist them not doing like this in front of TV programs. As you see, interaction is very important for their language development. Unless they share what they think, what they want to do with the others or with the peers, I don't think that it happens. Okay, therefore, I try to talk about this, theoretical, interactional aspect in language development as well. The psychologist Lev Vygotsky points out that language develops entirely from social interaction. Let children be active, but nowadays, now you know that we need a social distance, but social distance may be, let's say, realized through some, let's say, activities as well, as math does with EBA programs, Children could do more than they would be able to or able to do independently as the zone of proximal development. We have to keep the point in mind in that sense.
Basically, can we say that if you want the child to learn a language, don't just put them in front of the TV and make them watch the programs, because interaction is a key point. There needs to be some sort of interaction for the language to develop and be acquired. And here you talk about Vygotsky. I'm sure most people have heard about him. Is there a difference between Vygotsky's view and Piaget?
Okay, perspectives commonly taken the same, but of course there is a difference. I would like to talk about this. So thank you for asking this question. Jean Piaget saw language as a symbol system that can be used to express knowledge acquired through interaction with the physical world. For Vygotsky, thought essentially internalized speech, and speech emerges in social interaction. We have to keep this point in mind that, right? We need a capacity, but this capacity must be triggered by a social interaction.
So
as it happens in language acquisition. Yeah.
Are children exposed to another language in the process of first language acquisition? I think that's what really matters for us. Do they go through the same stages? Are they exposed to the language just like in the first language?
Sure, in the 21st century, you see that there is no way out not to have such children, that because they acquire both at the same time. As is known, children are exposed to have acquired the intricate, the complex system of their native language until the age of 5.5. But you see, this is what they have completed. But actually saying, at the age of 3.5, they are said to have acquired the grammar, all the grammar of the language they are exposed to. By then, they are fully able to use their linguistic competence. If they're exposed to a second language during this process, they become bilingual. However, if they are presented the second language in a structured way, this is what we do in schools. In language classrooms, the second language becomes a foreign language to them.
So that's something we have to do, I think, in living here, and English is a foreign language to us. Unless there's a native speaker at home, it's part of the process. And so is an acquisition order of morphemes, is there an acquisition order of morphemes for first and second language acquisition?
Sure, Roger Brown studied how children acquired the 14 of morphemes. His findings come to have a wide influence not only for studies in the first language acquisition, but also in the field of second language learning. Children do not master each morpheme suddenly, from one day to the next, but gradually, over a period of time, which is similar or identical for second language learners. Some other scholars like Larson and Freeman, Makino, agreed on Brown giving the following acquisition order. And with your permission, I would like to share it. And it's important for our teachers as well to take them into account in our teaching programs in schools and online learning. And present progressive, ing, is acquired first, not simple present tense, you see. Preposition, on, because on is visible, in is not visible, it is invisible, then in later. Plural s, as in two books. Irregular past forms. Why do you think that irregular past forms are acquired first? The reason maybe, you see, from the necessity, I think. Please, let's think of the verbs what we need in our daily life. Read, you know, eat, drink. All these words that we need in our life. They are primary, I think, the content verbs. Then all of them take the, the irregular past tense morpheme. And possessive s in daddy's head and in contractible copula, as in she is. But what happens in our schools? We start, what's your name? They don't know now, the s, but now we try to give the contractible copula instead of uncontractible copula. Their mentality makes them first be ready for, the uncontractable copula before contractible copula, then articles. But in some cases, we teach at very, very beginning the articles. Still, we have some speakers who do not use any articles, that because of also at least effort theory, because we delete them. If we don't think that we need them, we omit them, Then regular past, this is the 9th stage. Then regular third person singular, irregular third person singular, forms as in she has, and uncontractable copula, be, she was coming. That therefore, at very, very beginning in second language or in foreign language learning, our students, I coming, they say, instead of I'm coming. Because of this. This is the order of the normal development of their language, second language. And contractible auxiliary, be, as in he is coming. I hope this chart for our teachers, when they want to choose, the topics or when they ignore their errors, because errors actually are good indicators for seeing that our learners are learning in the process of learning, right? Please let them go, okay? As is seen then in the table, there is an acquisition order of morphemes, which usually correlates with those in second language.
Okay, so we find out that before teaching possessive, for example, we need to focus on plural s, not trying to force the child to learn the possessive word. And I coming is an error, but it indicates that learning is actually happening and the child is developing. Errors tell us a lot, so we need to keep track of them as well as English.
This is natural for them.
Okay, so there is this order of difficulty, and do you think that this order of frequency correlates with the speech
course not, because this is normal, I mean, let's say, process of their language development. Brown found that the order of frequency of these morphemes in the speech of children's parents does not correlate with the order of acquisition. Therefore, it cannot be explained by simple habit formation terms, right? Then, of course, to some extent, we may ask the learners to repeat after the native speakers or after the teachers. But you see, it doesn't happen outside the classrooms in natural, let's say, social situations.
So we come up with grammar is everywhere, in especially teaching English in Turkey. Grammar is almost everything. Last week we covered that in one of our chats. Is a child's grammar semantically or syntactically based? What would you tell us?
Okay, it's a good question. Thank you. Children acquire all the phonological, syntactic, and semantic rules of grammar. It is natural. The child's grammar is, I'm underlying, semantically based. There is a famous example, again, while the mom is setting the table, the child is helping his mom. The child says, "Mom, look at me. I put the plates, you see, by myself." The mom corrects the error. "No, I put the plates." "No, Mom, it's me, I did, not you." You see, again, it gives importance to meaning, not the grammar. Therefore, the child's early language does not make reference to syntactic categories and relations such as noun, noun phrase, verb, verb phrase, subject, object, and so on, but rather as functionalists say, semantic roles like agent and theme. Therefore, agent here is the child himself in the given example.
And what about the development of transformations in child language acquisition? Transformation.
Yeah, it's a good question. Again, at very beginning in schools, we try to use, WH questions, you know that. What is your name, for example, we start saying so, no? And as children are increasing their mastery of grammatical morphemes, they are also increasing their ability to carry out transformations on the basic sentence structure in order to produce more complex, more intricate utterances. The development of negatives or interrogatives has attracted particular attention, whereas the sequence that has been observed for the acquisition of negatives, let me talk about them. At first, the negative element is not a part of the structure of the utterance. It is simply attached to the beginning or end, as our second language or foreign language learners do. No singing song. No, the sun shining. At the second stage of the development, the negative element is inserted into the sentence. Instead of no or not, children may use don't and can't, but they do not yet inflect these for different persons or tenses. I no want milk. He no bite you. He don't want it. At the third stage, then, children begin to produce the appropriate part of do, be, or the model words to suit the person or tense. Therefore, we have to remember that our students, our learners are not at that stage. They are just beginner, just, let's say, just infants that acquiring or passing by the first stage in language acquisition. Or you don't want some supper? Paul didn't laugh. I'm not a doctor. We think that our learners start at this stage. We have to remember that they are not at that stage. With interrogatives, what happens? Children first produce sentences in which the internal structure of the sentence is not affected. In yes-no questions, they first use intonation. See hole? You can fix it? For the WH interrogatives, the question word is at first simply placed at the beginning or in front of the sentence. See, where daddy going? Why you caught it? Where my spoon goes? Overgeneralization, as you see. Later, children master the use of inversion with auxiliary do, as in the adult system. Then children both overgeneralize or after the overgeneralized meanings become narrowed and the undergeneralized meanings extended until the meanings of these words are those of the other speakers of the language, okay, then they are said to have acquired them. As a child is learning the meanings of words, she is also learning the syntax of language and the syntactic categories. The syntax helps the child acquire meaning in that sense.
Okay, so we understand the
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
focus. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now it's okay. Connected.
We understand that morphemes are important. There is an order of difficulty, and also in forming interrogatives, the children first start with only intonation, for example, then move on to make the proper form, also grammar correct sentences. Do you think that text-based approaches help to find out the morphemes acquired first by children?
Of course, they help. Corpus-based approaches help to find out the frequency of the words and morphemes acquired first by children. L2 learners may use both translation corpora, which represents their translations into one or more languages, and comparative corpora as well, right? We have to keep that point in mind. We conducted a research on this, and we tried to define first content and function words that Turkish infants used in early stages, and we try to compare them with those in second language learning, having given them a picture to depict in Turkish and in English. Therefore, corpus studies are very important to understand the mentality of this. However, it should be borne in mind that there is a tremendous variation across learners in cognitive style, I'm underlining this, and within a learner in strategy choice in second language learning and acquisition. Additionally, it must be kept in mind that errors are both product and process of learning. Learners may commit errors systematically and non-systematically because of overgeneralization, new category or rule, or ignorance of rule restriction, incomplete application of rules, transfer, developmental error types, and simplification by omission. Therefore, I kindly ask the school teachers to take them into account while they are assessing their children's product. Therefore, in second language use, learners or acquirers' current linguistic competence may affect their language use. In our, let's say, studies in the field, we prove the fact that if they, for example, if adjectives or adverbs are missing in their mother tongue, learners are unable to learn and use adjectives and adverbs. Therefore, in schools, if our teachers take their errors into account, or if their problems in learning adjectives or adverbs in their real performances, they fail because of this. If they are able to use them in their first language, unfortunately, they do not use them in, let's say, first language. Therefore, the linguistic competence may affect their language use in their production. Implicit linguistic knowledge may be displayed by their current linguistic level, linguistic competence.
Hocam, we have a question from Gülben Eker hocamız. She asks whether there's a difference between an error and a mistake. Is there a difference between error and mistake?
Thank you for this question, because some people may use them interchangeably. Errors are systematically committed, right? Whereas mistakes are non-systematic. Therefore, in our acquisition, our children are not committing errors, but they are mistakes. Again, therefore, I try to use the dichotomy in second language or foreign language classrooms. Since we teach them systematically our students commit these errors, then they are not mistakes. But if we take the acquisition, atmosphere in classroom, taking all these stages into account in second language learning and in foreign language learning, they would be mistakes, not errors. But I suggest them to call them mistakes if they take the teaching not as a teaching but learning, then they would be mistakes, not errors. Therefore, they must be ignored to some extent. Thank you, Gilo, for asking this question, hocam.
Thank you. That was a question from YouTube, actually. One of our viewers, as I said, Gülben Eker asked. We'd like to thank her for her contribution.
Thank you.
And what are the other factors that may affect second or foreign language learning, hocam?
Okay, now we think that only this is the, failure of children, but we ignore their age, aptitude, if they are able to learn languages, aptitude, motivation, learning styles, the language environment of the child, and input. They are important factors affecting second or foreign language learning. Young learners are taught to be more likely to achieve a better accent. However, older learners have the advantage of study experience and a wide knowledge of language, form, and the world. We have to keep the point in mind as well while we are teaching English to different groups at all ages. Some people appear to have a gift for languages, while others tend to struggle. Learners, I'm trying to explain now aptitude, what I mean by language aptitude. Learners with phonetic coding ability are able to perceive and memorize new sounds. Now, again, let enables us to do that, because thanks to let, that in our, let's say, brain, left hemisphere, we are able to distinguish between sounds, natural sounds and the, let's say, the sound that the vocal sounds produced by people. Then learners with grammatical sensitivity are able to show awareness of the syntactical patterning of sentences of a language. Learners with inductive ability are able to identify similarities and differences in both grammatical form, and meaning.
Okay, then, Mervin Hocam, what do you think about learners without aptitude? Don't you think they are unable to learn languages? Can we say that?
Thank you for asking this question as well. School children, teachers should prepare learners to be motivated. Therefore, in my terminology, I don't use lazy students. I use less motivated ones. I don't use hardworking. I use highly motivated learners. Then we have to be aware of their motivation types. For example, when I start teaching at all levels, I try to give a questionnaire to check the motivation types of my learners first, right? Then this is very important. And we have to raise their language awareness. If they are not aware of what language is, it is called İngilizce dersi hocam, unfortunately, but İngilizce cannot be a course, Then I call it then Fun with English, okay? Then we have to warn teachers, or again, we misuse some terms here. For example, we cannot motivate like this, even in our school programs. We have classroom management. When I ask even let's say educational scientists, they call it sınıf yönetimi. It is not. Management is not yönetim, but yönetişim. We have something mutual. We manage the classroom with children. We have to be very careful about this to raise their awareness at all levels, I think, for successful communication, not for failure in communication. Therefore, learners should be prepared to adopt the culture of the target community and should create situations where learners may need the target language in order to achieve let's say specific objective, right? This is very important in second language teaching and learning as well. Then therefore teachers should be sensitive, open to needs and interests of various age groups and continually monitor their changing needs. Now, you know that nowadays their needs are changing because of online programs. We have to take them into account as well.
Okay, so not hardworking, highly motivated children or students, we are going to call them from now on. Okay, and there must be some sort of input, of course, in language education programs or in terms of the acquisition progress. But how difficult do you think the input language must be?
Yeah, it's a good question, I think. It's a good question because it requires two, let's say, criteria here. The level of the learners and the choice of the text, the input, language input. In second language acquisition, as Stephen Craven gives importance to an important condition for input that contains structure a bit beyond the learner's current level of competence. If an acquirer or learner is at stage or level I, this is the current level I, the input he or she understands should contain I plus 1, not I plus 2 or not I plus 3. Therefore, we say that from simple to complex teaching. In other words, the language which learners are exposed to should be just for enough beyond, not beyond only, enough beyond their current competence that they can understand most of it, but still be challenged to make progress.
So just a little bit higher, I plus 1, but not I plus 2 or 3, a little bit more difficult. But then we still have some learners who are exposed to large quantities of comprehensible input, but they still don't acquire the language successfully. What is the reason? Why do you think that happens?
Okay, the effective filter, of course, is a metaphorical barrier that prevents learners from acquiring language even when appropriate input is available. Affect refers to feelings, motives, needs, attitudes, and emotional states. Therefore, I'm studying on an emotional dictionary for first language acquirers and second language learners. I think learners are unable to express their feelings in both languages, in their mother tongue and in foreign languages. Therefore, sometimes they have problems in choosing the appropriate modifiers for themselves even, right? Therefore, a learner who is tense, anxious, or board may filter out input, making it unavailable for acquisition.
That's sad. Okay. So thank you. So the affected filter stops them somehow if they're anxious or bored. Okay. So you talked about the natural order and the stages in language acquisition. Does it work in the same way as in second language acquisition or learning?
Is in the first language acquisition, sure. Second language acquisition unfolds in predictable sequences. The language features that are easiest to state are not necessarily the first to be acquired. Therefore, we have to know, we have to be aware of all the stages in second language learning.
Okay, with all the information we have about language acquisition now, to make our classes, both face-to-face and online classes, more effective for our learners, for our students, what would you like to share with language teachers?
Yeah, first of all, I know that language teachers are trying to do their best in face-to-face and online teaching. I have to thank all of them from here. Really, I know that they do their best. In teaching English to young learners, it must be borne in mind that since they are in the process of L1 acquisition, L2 acquisition or L2 language input must be in line with their L1 current knowledge. I am underlying this. All my research proves this. Their L1 competence may play a role in their L2 performance as windows through which teachers see their L2 competence. School teachers should take the young learner's mother tongue competence into account in their teaching. Turkish natural corpus should be known before teaching foreign languages. Then there are so many famous Turkish linguists studied on Turkish, national corpus. Then I kindly ask teachers to keep in touch with those scholars to know more about Turkish national corpus, or they can send me mails and then I can forward them to my friends as well. There may be bilingual learners in classes. If teachers maintain the home language while the second language is being learned, they may help learners to benefit from the opportunity to continue both, I am underlining this, cognitive and affective development using a language they understand easily while they are still learning the second language. Therefore, it creates additive, not subtractive bilingualism. This is very important to give importance in teaching and learning environments. And teachers should give importance to critical thinking in language studies. One of the, let's say, studies that we conducted at 19 Mayıs University with my graduate students, we proved the fact that the bilinguals, we conducted this in Germany, and we proved the fact that the bilingual speakers are able to use their critical thinking skills better than the monolingual speakers. By this way, they will not struggle with the learner's comprehension and production competence anymore. Additionally, they should help learners to learn to recognize many meanings that the same sentence can have in different situations. Therefore, pragmatics come into being. I kindly ask school teachers to study a bit pragmatics, what happens in the use of language in terms of different speech events and different speech situations. Now, again, with one of my students, grad students, we are studying, this is socio-pragmatic aspects in textbooks, Turkish textbooks and Azerbaijani textbooks. It is because learners need to acquire skills for interpreting requests, responding politely to compliments or apologies, recognizing humor, and managing conversations. Then, last but not least, I'd like to say something about the motivation types. Teachers should use various motivating expressions such as, that's good, you're right, good work, good job, great, that's it, excellent, good remembering, keep on trying, keep up the good work, that kind of work makes me happy, right? And these are the important elements to motivate the students. As you see, motivation comes first in all language studies, even in mother language. Sibel Hocam, thank you. I can hear you, Hocam.
Sibel Hocam.
Yes, now. You connected, yes.
It's been great seeing you. We are having so many messages, both from here and also YouTube, expressing their love and respect to you, our viewers. And we are having so many beautiful feedback. So it's been a pleasure, as I said at the beginning, and great honor for us to have you on this very important request. And we are going to finish the webinar. We'd like
Hocam, thank you for giving this opportunity to me on that special day.
It's our pleasure, Hocam. We'd like to see you again. Maybe you can read some of the notes as well.
Yes, I can, because some of them are my ex-students as well, and my graduate students. I'm so happy, and my colleagues. Really, I'm so nervous and excited to see everybody here.
Great seeing you and having you here. I'd like to thank everyone who also joined our webinar. Please keep following İstanbul Öğretmen Akademileri as part of course, İstanbul İl. Thank you.
I invite everybody to Samsun.
Yes,
I also
really
like to thank
from the bottom of my heart. I'm inviting. These are my sincere feelings. Sincerely, I shared what I know, and I hope I do it.
We can understand that. I think Hale Hocam wants to add something as our general coordinator. Hale Hocam, buyurun.
Yes, Nalan Hocam, it's a great pleasure to host you today.
It's my pleasure.
On this commemoration of Atatürk and Sports and Youth Day. And you'd like to come to Samsun, maybe you can organize a workshop for us.
Please, yeah, let's do so many things.
Yes,
Let's do so many things.
maybe we can arrange something like that. And if you do come to Istanbul, we'd like to see you. That's also our sincere
With
feeling.
pleasure.
Thank you.
And I have to thank you all for studying academically, Sibel Hocam and Hale Hocam. Really, and for all other technicians helping us. And really, I wish you again successes, lots of kisses as well. I'm sending from Samsun.
Okay, thank you very much, Hocam. Hope to see you again in our sessions, either in Samsun, Istanbul, or in a webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Doğum günüm demiştim bugün için. Gençlikteydi bütün ümidim. Geleceğe ışık saçan çiçeklerin büyüyor ilelebet hatam. Biz Türk gençliğinin evlatları yorulmadan seni izleyeceğiz. Cumhuriyeti siz kurdunuz, onu biz yücelteceğiz. Koşuyoruz aydınlık geleceğe, sanatla, bilgiyle ve ilimle. Yöneldiğimiz o kutlu ülkeye, hedefimiz tam bağımsız Türkiye.